does happen. I like fountains, although I have to tell you that I actually prefer Revo. I think it's a
Yes.
much more, it's more medieval, more evocative. It reminds me a little bit of, I'm having a senior moment here. There's a beautiful abbey in Wales near...
Tintern?
Yes, thank you. Tintern, which I've always thought also was rather magical.
Oh, yes. But Tintern was better known, and we had spent more time at fountains. We had taken a lunch and crossed the little stepping stones and found a place that was quiet and finished our lunch there. So
fountains a little bit more like a, I don't want to say Disney, but isn't it more like a park where you can visit? I think they actually do opera.
It's part of a home, yes, now. But at the time we were there, it was just out in the parkland, and you came out of the woods and
it hadn't really been commercialized.
No, it hadn't. So much of England has changed now. It's very difficult to get back to the period.
Right.
When you go into a town, you have to look at the dates above the doors. Oh, this was 1929, not yet. We just, sometimes you have to put a building in there because the building that's there shouldn't be there.
But you're fortunate that there are such intense records, archives, whatever, that you can go back and figure out how it was. There are maps and architectural renderings and everything for centuries.
Right. And it's just a wonderful resource.
Finding specifics sometimes can be a little difficult. Now I get to have a senior moment. The tithe barn.
Oh, well, we can't talk about that because it hasn't been finished yet.
I realize that, but I wasn't going into that as much as I was trying to find the specific angle that we were looking for. Sometimes you can find, okay, I'm looking for an X, in this case a tithe barn, but that one doesn't work and this one doesn't work, and trying to narrow it down. And that's where we have so much fun in the research.
That's where we can get distracted.
We have difficult customers because they're very intelligent people and let us know when we make errors, but it's a pleasure spending the time to learn about the things and to get it right.
Yes.
But we just both enjoy learning, and as a result can wind up with thousands of pages of research and no pages of manuscript, and editors don't like that for some reason.
So you do make every effort to make your place as authentic as you can. You're not taking a lot of literary license.
You take some because
you have to, don't you?
You can't tell what was there originally. You may know 6 of the 12 houses in on a street, and the others are new. And you talk to people, and they remember something, but you can't trust their memory necessarily. It might be 1934 that they are remembering, rather than 1919. So occasionally you have to make an effort to keep it within the framework of the atmosphere you want. But when we first start writing the book, if we can get the first page and a half, 2 pages, right, the rest of the book writes itself. No outline, nothing to guide you except the characters. But those first, if you've noticed in the books, like the Murder Stone, for example.
Short chapters.
A short chapter that sets the mood and the feeling and where the book might be going. And then from there on out, it's just follow the leader.
I'm surprised that you're not writing towards a very specific destination, because the books are so well plotted. I always felt that you almost wrote them backwards.
We don't know who, sometimes we don't know who's going to get killed.
Really?
And sometimes we don't know who's
but I think
the murderer.
That's what makes it successful, because you're not artificially manufacturing how things are going to turn out. You're watching the progression and letting it come to the conclusion that it needs to, and not necessarily the one that you wrote down when you started the whole process.
That takes a lot of confidence as a novelist. Maybe it's a good thing you had those early suspense novels under your
I don't
belt,
think they did it as much as I enjoyed those. But the psychological ramifications of people, that's what really makes these books interesting to us. I mean, why would a normal person who had never done anything wrong suddenly decide to kill somebody? And it happens because they're pressed too far. They are in some way intimidated or fearful, or their family or their livelihood is at stake, and they kill.
A lot of what you're writing about, though, is rooted back in the war, isn't it? To loss in the war or effect
Yes.
from world. I don't think you, maybe you did intend them to be an anti-war statement, but it's curious that now that we're at war, I have
Yes.
noticed that various critics have actually commented on that, whereas that was not,
We're objective, and people have made comments that it's anti-war, and people have made comments that it's very patriotic. So I think because we're objective, it leaves to the reader to feel the effect of war on people.
I think they're read differently depending on what's going on around us.
Yes, yes, very definitely.
That can make a big difference. I've noticed that in my own reading, how I'll go back and read a book later under different circumstances and see it in a different light. But, you know, it's sort of like a lot of people have talked about the death penalty. You know, there was fearsome doubt, but there hasn't been an awful lot on the death penalty because it's not, what we're focused on is when Rutledge solves the crime, the weight of that decision being correct is
That's right.
brought on by the fact that there is the death penalty, but we do not get into a social discourse over the merits or lack thereof for capital punishment.
Yes, I mean, that was the way it was.
It was the way it was. I've always thought that Agatha Christie's books were so, you know, when you read them and you knew that when the police came, arrested and hauled off whoever it was, you knew what was going to happen to them. I think one of the hardest things about writing crime novels in our current justice system is that your readers don't have any real confidence in what's going to happen,
Yes.
what the outcome will be. Ever since the O.J. trial, you know, I mean, it's all been kind of a theater of the absurd in a lot of ways.
And we like the fact that Rutledge doesn't have the little men in the white coats following him around and saying, no, 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 the blood sample says this, and no, 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 we did find a hair sample over there. He has to develop his own theories and then follow them in his own way.
There was some basics, you know, fingerprinting had started
Right.
earlier, but not really. Just being able to identify with certainty a person was very difficult back then. But yes, the goal was the wits. That's one of the reasons why I like Sherlock Holmes so much. He was so observant and paying attention to things all the time.
That's right.
Just an overall intelligent person. I know it's bad to mention these kinds of things, but Law and Order Criminal Investigation, Vincent D'Orfino plays one of the detectives. He's one of these oddball kind of people, but he knows lots and lots of little trivia. He knows this about this and that and the other. And whether it's Sherlock Holmes or current thing today, I think that's something Caroline and I both enjoy, is almost a Renaissance type of person in the detective.
Well, you're looking at observation and intuition and actually witnesses more than you are forensics. I mean, today,
Yes.
if you think about it, a lot of forensics have replaced witnesses, and there's always been a question of the credibility of an eyewitness or,
Exactly.
you know, memory, that sort of thing. But I do think that it's a relief from what we have going on today to read about sleuthing in a time when it was much more, as you say, about an observant, intelligent person.